saying he's activated 800 National Guard members in the nation's capital.
Hear him answer questions about the economy.
Called it dirty, disgusting.
In a dictatorship.
But also just trying to make a point. If I could, I would.
They can place us under military control.
Under federal control for 30 days while deploying 800 National Guard troops to the street.
Placed on paid administrative leave. Why? Because he accused his commander of deliberately falsifying crime data.
Welcome back to the Revardo Show, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the uproar surrounding the 800 National Guard troops that were deployed on the nation's capital. We also have Scott Jennings bringing in the facts on what it means to be a dictator and not be a dictator. We'll play the clips that the media's been running, including the meltdowns on the Democrat side over the military involvement. And of course, we'll break it all down so you can decide for yourself on the Revardo Show. Roll it.
I think that the silencing media,
Chief,
this is what you do in a dictatorship.
Are you suggesting that the president is not the commander-in-chief of the military?
I am suggesting that the president is going to put in charge somebody who is going to contravene the Constitution. And at some near point, this conversation will look very silly for you because it will be obvious. And right now, you're gaslighting. When we get to the actual rubber of the road of this, it will be clear.
I'm interested in this conversation. He's going to put someone in charge who will contravene the Constitution. Like, who? What do you mean by that? The president is in charge of the military, is he not?
All right, so that's Scott Jennings' take on it. Of course he brings the facts. Of course he brings common sense. But let's find out what the Democrats have to say about bringing safety to their community. I don't think they want that. Let's find out why. Roll it.
When he says safety, when he's talking about federalizing it, what he really means is cracking down on the residents of the city.
Report about Donald Trump's authoritarian assault on American cities. The Washington Post reporting on plans from the Pentagon to create a, quote, domestic civil disturbance quick reaction force in cities facing protests or other unrest. According to the Post, who viewed this plan, if adopted, it would require 600 troops to be ready round the clock to deploy in as little as 1 hour.
Of his base voters will be happy to watch video of young black men being arrested and chained hand and foot in the streets. That is what Trump's feral sense of his own base will lead him to do. And again, it's not every Republican in the country.
Okay, so it takes MSNBC to spew that type of racist rhetoric. To even have that type of racist rhetoric on their network is crazy to me. That is the most racist clip I've ever seen in my life. You have a white man telling the black man that the president has a base that wants to see black men beat in the streets. Is that not racist? All right, so this next clip is by Rachel Maddow, and she's one of my favorite MSNBC idiots. I had to change my shirt for this one. Let's set the scene, though. Let's break down authoritarianism and how it's been used throughout history, and not just right now. Say, for instance, keeping those people safe and that surrounding area safe is authoritarianism. Then what was COVID? My question is, because you guys are so biased on information and the truth, what do you call the mandatory COVID shot? Or you can't get a job, or you can't go anywhere, or you're not permitted to do this, you can't get on the plane if you don't have the COVID shot, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We didn't even know about the COVID shot, and we had to take it. That was mandatory. What do you call that?
We heard today again, which is the normal briefing I get with two added experts. We talked about school openings. We talked about the distribution of a vaccine if and when one arrives.
Executive Order 13991, also referred to as the 100-day masking challenge. In an executive order signed by the U.S. President Joe Biden on January the 20th, 2001, the order commands federal agencies and proprietors to require mitigations to help reduce the spread of coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, as recommended by the Center for Disease Control Prevention, CDC, be employed and enforced by the employees and visitors of federal land and properties, including social distancing and the wearing of face masks. Here are the provisions. The order states that the heads of executive departments and agencies shall immediately take action as appropriate and consistent with applicable law to require compliance with CDC guidelines. With respect to wearing masks, maintaining physical distance and other public health measures by visitors and employees of federal land and properties, and commands the Secretary of Health and Human Services to engage with political leaders and community members to maximize public compliance and addressing any obstacles to mask wearing and other public health best practices identified by the CDC. The order was released April 12, 2024. And yet Rachel Maddow has a different outlook and view on what authoritarianism is. Roll it.
He wants U.S. military force deployed on U.S. soil facing inward as a show of force to the American people about what he and the government can do to you. And we clearly are now in the part of the attempted authoritarian takeover where our authoritarian leader just starts trying to turn our own military to face us, the people of this country.
D.C. has a history of being substantially weak on crime. That's why the District of Columbia continues to be unsafe. Last Congress, I filed legislation, we just refiled it again, that would actually put D.C. in line with every other jurisdiction in America. What I mean by that is, in the District of Columbia, if you're 22 years old and you commit a crime, they can try you as a juvenile.
If you're over the age of a juvenile, you can get tried still as a juvenile. Make it make sense.
No other part of America does that, but they do that in D.C.
The CEO has told Fox News D.C. and the inquiries just from that district are up roughly 400% compared to the same period of time in 2024.
And on D.C. streets today, protesters railed against the president's actions.
If they can place us under military control without our consent, they will carry this playbook to every community that dares to push back in the United States of America.
Okay, so what I'm starting to realize is that the people who reject safety are just rejecting the safety because it's coming from a politician's mouth, ergo vis-a-vis our president, Donald J. Trump. So if they don't like him, then this is what they're going to say to you.
I think it frankly doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't trust that anything he put in place would improve safety.
When the community is sprawling with beat down stabbings, people breaking into your cars, the girl that we just now watched, she's definitely a victim. She could be. I'm not saying because she's white, but she looks like the girl who was about to get beat up and Big Balls saved her. And he got beat to a pulp instead. These people are delusional. I can't even come up with another word for what they're projecting. And if safety to them is not having safety, then okay, that's what they need to tell us. But when they tell us that because of a politician, because of Donald J. Trump, they're not safe, when they're in a community, in a city that is completely unsafe, you could be a 5-year-old and you will be able to see that that city is completely unsafe. But they would rather the city not be safe or protected. They would rather the break-ins and the brawls due to who's in charge of the country currently. It's a sad realization. Roll it.
He said if D.C. doesn't get his act together and quickly, we'll have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run this city how it should be run and put criminals on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore. If this continues, I'm going to exert my powers and federalize the city.
Right now, we're not safe. We're kids and the teenagers doing everything.
Batista, she was a recent JMU grad, beautiful young woman from Arlington who had gone into the district to go see a concert, and she was brutally stabbed to death at her own hotel.
And yet, CNN is still in denial. Roll.
Both dangerous weapons, robbery, violent crime, property crime.
All down.
All down.
But you know what's funny? They keep screaming all down. Crime is all down, all down, all down.
Crime.
All down.
All down.
When in reality, we just saw a few crimes that we can pull up right now and contradict that by visual footage.
You know, as I mentioned earlier, look, people have to feel safe. And you can give them all the stats in the world. If they don't feel it, then they're not buying it.
You're all about drugs down in Colombia, right? Well, when you compare D.C. to other countries around the world, look how much higher the murder rates in that capital city per 100,000 people is. D.C. has almost 28. Colombia, 15. Mexico City, almost 11. Islamabad, 9.2. Lima, Peru, 7.6. Paris, 1.6. You get the idea.
And it was so bad that Democrats in Congress joined with Republicans to stop it.
the Washington City Council is, in fact, a cesspool of far-left radicalism.
First of all, this president has his hand full. He needs to just go and stay on the federal level. Now, I didn't know, Scott, that my Republican colleagues now all of a sudden believe in bigger government. If that's what they believe in, that government should come in and take over, let's go ahead and start with Medicare for all. 68,000 Americans die every single year. Millions are underinsured. If this how y'all rolling, if this how y'all rolling, let's roll. Let's do
is
this.
there agreement there?
Let's do this, Scott.
I'm just going to tell you right now, the plight of American hero Big Balls has set off.
All right, so let's zoom in on the fact that she's trying to negate the actuality of someone getting beat to a pulp in the streets, and there was a federal agent. She's trying to laugh it off like it never happened or like it doesn't matter. She's trying to minimize the situation. That's what they do on CNN. Let's get back to the clip.
Set off a firestorm in the Republican Party. This kid who worked for the Doge guys, didn't shut down any diners that I know of, but he's out of the government now. He goes out on the street.
Just infiltrated all of our information.
He protects a woman from being attacked by a roving street gang, and he had the crap kicked out of him. And, we had a congressional intern murdered not too long ago. I'm just telling you, Republicans right now have about had it with the violence and the idea that you can't even walk around D.C. right now without getting attacked by street gangs.
Don't we have laws on the books already?
400 carjackings, they're not being enforced. How is Trump shredding the Constitution?
My God, he's like.
I mean, seriously, do we have to give you a civics lesson that we have? I don't know. We put all power in the executive branch, the legislative branch, the FBI. Now we're in control of the military.
You said he's going to put someone in charge of the military?
The president is in charge of the military. That is how it works.
So what I have to say is that guy is tremendously stupid. He did not pass. I don't know how he got on the show, and I don't know how, if he did get through college, how he did that either. But he has to be the most serious, stupid person I've ever seen, and I have to admire that. He said it with a straight face. He was dead serious. I have to admire his tenacity. He was so serious. He wasn't playing. He said that directly with a straight face. Roll it.
Everything is an emergency, giving him extraordinary powers that are supposed to be temporary in many cases.
Okay, so simply put, there are already tools in the government that the president can use at his disposal to bring back law and order. But Abby Phillips is contradicting that, or she's rebuttaling the truth with the nonsense of the narrative that she wants to continuously spew. I think she just conjures up drama for her narrative. But the truth of the matter is that in order to bring back law and order, he gets to enact that tool, which is now the National Guard, to bring back law and order so the city can continue to be safe. Scott Jennings is the only one that seems to have any common knowledge or common sense or any actual visual of what's going on in reality. These people remain to be out of touch.
Where does this end, Scott?
Well, I guess in the case of safety for Washington, D.C., it'll end when it's safe again. I mean, and Congress may need to get involved here.
What do you define as safe again?
Well, what do you define as an acceptable rate of violence in the city? I think the expectation of the citizens is they don't want to die or get carjacked.
I think becomes a very important question. How do we define what safe again means in an American city?
Well, I think in Washington, D.C., you're going to have substantial reductions in violence, substantial reductions in murder, substantial reductions in carjackings, and people are generally going to have to feel like they can walk around and not be under threat all the time.
When people are juggling safety and who their favorite politician is, they're conflicting the point, which is actually safety, and that's the standard.
So this Dictator thing, when I watched it, I thought he was sort of half joking, but also just trying to make a point. Like, if I could, I would change these policies right now because it would make the United States better. What's sort of amazing about it is this whole Dictator thing, it has become the basic underpinning of the entire Democratic campaign. I mean, every speech, every surrogate, every set of talking points they send out to people, you've heard it on this show. On this particular comment and the way it's been construed by the Democrats, I think has been completely, like a lot of comments, like the bloodbath thing, that's also been blown out of proportion. Trump does occasionally say things that then are like little crevices where you can get a foothold and start, climbing what I think is an untrue wall. And Democrats have really blown these comments up. Now, whether people actually believe it or not, I don't know. I mean, he was president for 4 years. He was not a dictator. He was constantly flummoxed by Congress on occasion. So he pretty much operated like a president does.
And that's our final clip with Scott Jennings as he brings it home on that dictator conversation. Don't you love it when the Democrats twist and contort the words out of context? There's a massive difference between authoritarian takeover and the president promising to keep America safe, as he's doing. He's promising to keep America safe, and he's promising to keep D.C. safe as we speak.
Them look better. Number one, you want to make sure your neighbors are safe, and everybody knows it's not safe. The numbers are down to compare it where it was. And then I see this story yesterday. The Metropolitan Police Department confirmed that Mike Pulliam was placed on paid administrative leave. Why? Because he accused his commander of deliberately falsifying crime data.
From the right's perspective, this is leadership, plain and simple. They argue that when crime is up, borders are weak, and Congress is gridlocked, strong executive action is the only way to get results. To them, dictator is a media buzzword, designed to scare voters, not reflection of reality, and they point out that Trump was in office for 4 years, and he wasn't running the country like a king. From the left's perspective, any suggestion of bypassing Congress, using military presence domestically, or moving too quickly on policy is authoritarianism. They point to history, they point to language, and they argue that these words matter because in their eyes, they're warning signs of what could come.